Thank you very much. Nice to see you all here after this long period of absence on being online. And thank you, Suzanne, for organizing the training school here. I want to present to you some ideas, some concepts that you are working with in our Costa Action, that is the organizer of this training school. I am professor in Lisbon at the Lusófona University. Lusófona is a very special university because it's, from the name, it's about the Portuguese-speaking countries. It's a university that is almost everywhere in the 9 countries that have Portuguese as official language, and most of our students are from those countries. So in the Lusófona, I am professor for urban planning and landscape design, landscape ecology, and there I am member also of an interdisciplinary center for research, where I, with colleagues, coordinate the topic of how we can use sustainably resources. So resources, what we call public goods. So landscape, territory, heritage, those things that belongs to all of us, and that we all should benefit from them. This is what we call public goods. And we have a series, several projects, each one taking different issues, different research questions, but they all have this component. The public goods, how we can use the public goods in a sustainable way, in an inclusive way, that everyone can benefit from these public goods. So I am also coordinator or head of the working group 4. We, in our action, we speak about planning approaches, how we can use planning approach to make the heritage, to activate, it's the word we use, activate heritage. So it means how we can approach the problem, how we can approach the heritage underground. You will see later some ideas how we are working on that. And this has different issues, this activating. It's a transition. It's from unknown to be something new, something known and shared and evaluated by people. So in this has different issues. So we have to think about social components, cultural approaches, how to engage people. We have been talking all these 2 days about how to engage people in the heritage and how to engage people in their place making, in their changing the ideas of the place that is for everyone. In this way also, we think how we can empower people to be able to take part in the process, how we can empower people to be able to raise a voice and be heard. So in this group we have 3 ideas or 3 concepts that we try to use and make them more ours. You see, we use citizen science as a philosophy. It's behind it. We want to work with people. We want to work with them in their environment. We use living labs, what you're doing here, as an instrument, a method of work. And co-creation is a result. So we want to work together to have a common result, a shared result. In this sense, create placemaking, creating value for a place. Place can be, in our case, not only a place, a physical place, but also an heritage place. So these are the concepts you are always trying to put together in our work. So some explanation about this single concept. Citizen science. Citizen science is not new, but it has now this catchy word. It's everywhere, especially because the European Union put it in the center of their activities, or its activities. So all research projects financed by the community has now to have this component, has to involve people in the research. That means for us, like people like me that do research, we have also to involve people. We are not more the only owner of the research, but involving people, we have to share also our ownership. This is a very challenging position. But citizen science is one of the pillars of the European Union, and we're financing different projects, different regional funds. We have a ways to involve people in their environment. And this, for us in research, this can have different issues. So people can take part in different parts of the research. They can provide the data, they can control the data, they can read the data, they can analyze data with us. They can be involved in different ways, in not only providing data, not being the target of our research, but really taking an active part on that. For sure, it depends always on the personal interest of the people, who is these people, the time they have available to engage, and also the technological resource we have. So we have always to think how far we can involve people, how deep they can be involved. And one issue that is making this process more available, more useful, more everywhere is the development of telecommunication and mobile technologies. It's much easier now to contact people, to bring people to their environment. So ICT and digital technology is making for us a good effort, or is providing us a good platform to contact people, making maybe the process more democratic in the sense that we can involve more people. This is also a question that we have always to think, because only ICT is not the solution. So for the European Union, what they say is that we have to collaborate with lay people, people that are not skilled in the sense as we are as professionals. So people that live in the area, people that share that area, people that use that area, people that have memories on this, for example, in this heritage. This brings us also some challenge, but this is an opportunity to really understand what is the need of people, to understand what the potentialities this place has, be it an heritage, a public space, or urban development. So in this sense, we can maybe provide at the end a proposal that is more rooted in the area, is more realistic. And we have then for us always to be aware that we have to recognize, engage people. So that means also we have to share responsibilities. And for us as research, it's very important because we gain knowledge, we gain skills in contacting people, in sharing ideas. I think this is also a very important skill for us as planners, in the sense that we learn to hear to people, we learn to give responses to the needs of the people. This is a very important part of this process, in the sense from the planner side. So that means for us, it's always the question, who is this people we have to involve? Who is the citizen? Who is people? Are locals? Who are stakeholders? Are they end users of my knowledge or my product, of my heritage? So we have always to think, who is the stakeholder? Who is going to be involved? And for the project, I think this is also a question for us planners. How much in participation is important? How much in participation is of value for the project? Because it can be also very extended, because it's longer discussions, longer negotiations of issues can be a very time-long process. There is a very important association in Europe, an European Citizen Science Association. They organized what they call the 10 principles, It's very easy, the 10 principles about citizen science. As I mentioned, citizen science is everywhere. Everyone is doing citizen science now. But there are some principles. And you see here, they put 10 together. These principles are translated in almost every language we can speak. The list is here. You can go there and see. And I think from these 10 principles, one is very important for us to keep in mind. Citizen science is not a wonder. It's not a miracle. It's just another way to involve people. It's not just another way to do research. It has limitations. It has problems. But it has also many opportunities. It has many, brings new approaches. But again, it's just one kind of a process that we have in all different kinds of methods and process. So it's just one more. So we have always to keep that in mind. It's not something that will provide you the answers. It's just a way. And this, coming back to the European Union, when we do research, but also in the sense of using European money, people on the ground, they have ways to involve the four main issues here, the main stakeholders. Sometimes it's very difficult when we speak about public goods and have a business inside of it, because business, it's mostly, they are devoted to make money, to make revenue. But it is also very challenging for us, because we can invite different companies, invite people that can work with us, provide service for the municipality. And this is what the European Union uses as background for their efforts. So there are four main players in this system: the business, the research education, this is where I came from, the public administration, you see the other people here from the other case studies, and this civil society, the user, the normal people, the lay people. So I think in the cross of these four groups is where knowledge can be gained, where skills can be generated. It's the same like with disciplines. So when we bring people together from planning, from architecture, from engineering, from social sciences, really the new knowledge is always gained in the cross of these disciplines. It's where they meet, where they go beyond their limits. And this is the thought behind this. We have to, in the cross of these different four stakeholders, we can gain knowledge, we can gain skills, and we can put the things on the root, based on their places. And this is also the call of the WHO. We saw yesterday when Giuseppe presented the AGUA, so the process of UNESCO. They really ask again. So we need tools for engaging people. We need the tools that understand the regulatory systems, and we need tools that provide the financing to make the financing methods or the financing providers more diverse. For sure, public goods will always depend on public money. It's good in this way, because it's a public good, has to be done, but it has to be ensured that it's for everyone. But we can use the other foundings to provide some service, to increase the service. And for me, what's more important is that even the UNESCO asks again for us for develop ideas to build knowledge on how to use the planning tools. So, and then when we go further with this, how we can implement citizen science, how we can get people involved. One of the tools, again, one of these different tools is these living labs. It's a kind of what we are doing here. We came together, we discussed what are the potentials, we developed some ideas, we put the ideas, we exchange ideas. This is what the most important thing that everyone can bring its own knowledge, its own skills, its own interests. And the negotiation, I think, it's where we can deliver a good result. So I think in this sense, Living Lab is again very important because it can provoke changes in the people that organize it, in the results, and the people that participate on it. Because we have more experience, we have are more experienced in exchanging, in negotiating. And it's a test bed for new methods and co-design approaches. So we always can try different issues, different ways to try to solve a problem or create a solution. I will pass that one. In a project I was coordinating, we try to look at what is the opportunities ICT, mobile and digital technologies are bring for us, people that do research. So in the sense of placemaking, of putting things on the place. So we can use the technology for analyzing a place. I hope you meet Alfonso. He's developing these systems so to contact people in places. We can use technology to enhance people's experience in the place. This is a very interesting issue because we can travel nowadays to everywhere. So we don't need to, it's different, I know. And I am not only for online travel, but you can be today, now in the Louvre. You can see the Mona Lisa, you can see different museums now, or you can be in Lisbon now, virtually. This is an interesting thing because you can experience the place in a different way. And then we have technology to engage people. So this is also very important for us because we can use technology to get people more involved, more attracted to be involved. And this is what we call then this hybrid, this mediated space. Space can be, again, a heritage. It's not only the physical space of the city. So it's hybrid. It's mixed between the virtual and the physical. And this is, for us, again, this is a very challenging situation to understand this and make use of this. If you are interested in that, in this project, we listed how we can use this technology, where is the benefits of this technology, and what is the premises we need to have to make benefits of this technology. And these are increasing. So in the time we did that, there is different ways how to use it. But technology itself is not a solution. For us, technology is just a mean. It's a way to engage people. It can bring added value, but it cannot be a substitute for anything physical. So when we speak also about technology, we see always to see the connection to a smart city. So that city that's intelligent. But what is intelligent in the city if you leave people behind? So the cities or heritages, everything is done by people. So we need to keep people also smart. So the technology divide can be also a very challenging thing and a very counterproductive idea. And for me, it's also important that we cannot just rely on technology. Technology will not solve our problems. It can be a mean, but we need always to develop ideas where people are in the center, because for them, we do our work. So an idea how to use living labs in Lisbon, we worked with a group of teenagers to try to understand how they use public spaces, and if they design a public space, what will be this one? So we have different approaches. went with the teenagers to the city, discussed with them, brought different people to talk to them, have different design ideas, and they, in the end, what we discover is that teenagers, they don't need a very flamboyant place. They need just a place where they can meet people, meet their peers. This is one of the issues of the teenagers being in the cities. They don't have places on their own. They are always under control of adults. What they always ask is for a place where they can meet their peers, their friends. So it's a very simple idea. They don't want to be alone in the city. They want to see other people. They want to share this place with other people. This is also a very interesting knowledge, because we thought always, okay, they want to have a place for their own, but they don't. For sure, it's more complicated. It's more challenging when you have to share, negotiate the use of this place, but this could be a good solution. So, and for sure, they ask for more green. In Lisbon, for example, where they can meet with sunshine protection. It's a very sunny city. It's not something very flamboyant. It's not something that, wow, you say. It's very simple things. Maybe in the simple things are the solution. And for us, it was very interesting that because we gave this opportunity to them to think about the city, to think about the use of spaces. They are very grateful. They are asking now for the next seminar with them, because they want to continue that. So if we give the conclusion would be that if we give the people the chance to raise their voices and they see that they are heard, so they are willing to contribute, they will contribute, they will work with you. So, and the idea of placemaking. Placemaking, it's a concept that is developed by a project for public spaces. It's a very interesting project. It's very known in urban planning because they created this concept of placemaking. So creating a place, making a place with people. So. It's an inspiring project because it again asks to bring people together to discuss the future of the city. And when we give value for something, so we change the space into a place. So that means there is narratives, there are people interested in that area, people use that area. And if you see the issues that this project for public spaces put in there, how to evaluate a place. They have a very simple things as well. You see the main four issues, dimensions are sociability, so a place where people can meet, people can share, people can be together. Most of the people, they don't want to have active contact with other people, but they want to share the same space. They want to see other people. So sociability is a very important issue. So the second one, uses and activities. So what you can do in this place, how you can use this place. It's interesting, it's boring, it's diverse. You can use today in this way, tomorrow in another way. This will invite people to be more often there. So another issue is access. We have to give access to this place and the linkages. That means how this place is embedded in the whole system, in the context. It's easy to go there, it's safe to go there, there is barriers to have to pass to achieve this area. And the fourth one, comfort and image. So if you want to go to a place, you want to go to a place that's safe. You don't put your life of children in danger. So it has to be safe. It has to be a place where people are proud to use. You don't go to a place with a very bad image. So you see these the four dimensions are very simple, but they are very important for us. So we have to develop more ideas on how to make use of them. Trying to make a conclusion on this. from the public space, from the public policies, from the public administration, I think the process has to be intentional. It cannot be that the municipalities just does accept that people are doing in their place. So they have to be intentionally accepted. They have to be open to accept new ideas of sharing their responsibilities. So that means also they have to value local initiatives. And one of the biggest problems is always in the connection with councils, with public administration, is that we contact one department and they don't have any contact to the others. So you are always working with planning department, environmental department, social development department, and very few contact between them. Sometimes it's very important that you are from an university or you are from a European project because you are over this system. So people want to show that, oh, we are open. So sometimes it's very good to have this umbrella over our work. And for the municipality, it's very important is to accept the co-responsibility. The municipalities are not alone responsible for building the city, for taking care of the heritage. And in this way, I think we can combat inequities. So it's a good way to make the cities more inclusive, more safe, and more responsive to the needs of people. And from the local action, I think it's very important that they maintain their independence. They are not part of the system of planning system of the city. They maintain their independence. So cities has to invest in creating responsibilities. People had also to be skilled to take responsibilities in the co-creation processes. I like this term. We use always to tell that placemaking, co-creation, and living labs are tools for talking. We bring people to talk together. We bring people to negotiate together. And this is one important issue for us. So people can negotiate, people can discuss and start to develop ideas. And for the local action, this is always an issue, how to mobilize the community, how to bring people to work together. There are some ideas, there are some inputs on that. And the result could be really a sustainable and a more successful or more effective change in the local community, because it's locally rooted, it's made by people there living there or working there. So back now to the working package 4, working group 4, that's the group that I coordinate with different colleagues from different skills. You see, we are a very small part of the whole process, and we are responsible for developing ideas or testing planning tools and community empowerment methods. So this means for us to see what we have an experience on the table with these people and what our experience worldwide, and how we can make this transition approach. Transition, it's not here. Transition, we means here the process of making an heritage that is not known, that is not available, into something that people value, cherish, making from a space into a place. So we try to understand what we have on the table in this working group. So we list different things. For example, we list what obstacles we have when we try to activate, we try to make an heritage more useful is not, but more available for people. So there's these five issues. They are very general, but mostly you can meet everywhere. So weak institutional framework. So bottom up, top down. What is the best way to organize it? Where we meet together. In many places, many heritage assets, they have this negative image because it's on the underground. There is different smells, there is different light, different access, different smells and visual issues. So there is also the conflicts between different issues in urban development, in development anyway. Where to put the public money? Public money is scarce everywhere. Do you put in social development, in heritage, or environment? So there is always this conflict. Who will win money, will get money, who will be the loser? And the lack of governance. So in the sense that people have no voice in the development of their environment, of their social environment as well. So, and the lessons that we can learn from that we need to create an added value. So, for an heritage, we have to discover what is the value of this, on this, how we can make this available. So we need to create new knowledge, put the knowledge we have about this area, this place together so that people can access it, can use it. So we need to monitor the process to see it's really sustainable, we are going in a good way, are we creating knowledge? Has to be always done by a collective will. So that means it's not only part of the community, of the public administration, but it's a process that everyone has to be part. So we need also communication, honesty in communication. This is a very challenging issue because when you speak about public money, public administration, there is always this kind of keeping the communication, keeping information, because it should not go to the public. And this is a very stressful process when people are just getting information they need to know or they are supposed to know, but not the others. So in order to create a system that all are equals, we need to have honesty in the process. So then, for sure, when we speak about heritage, underground heritage, we have to provide safety, security, and accessibility. So we don't want to put anyone that is going underground in danger. So in this process, we can organize a collective learning. So this is also a learning process. So we can put the pieces together and create a new knowledge. I want to go faster just to make sure now that you understand the difference between what we call statutory planning and informal planning. Statutory is that planning that you have to follow because, you know, there's many regulations, many legislations. They say what you have to, which plans you have to do in which time. And in our case, in urban planning, we have different plans. We have development plans, we have land use plan, we have detailed plans, so it goes down. So we have a ways to work in this way. There is no other chance. And we have informal planning, so the way that we can gain more knowledge. It's not a substitute of statutory planning, because we have anyhow to put the information, the plans into the normal way of development, but we can have, for statutory planning, new ideas and new processes, and for sure, new ideas that can make them more useful. There are differences because when we speak about activating underground heritage, for example, in informal planning, we have more flexibility. We can decide when, what to do. So it can be more people-oriented, can be more people involved. It's big on negotiation. We can tackle wicked issues that is difficult to tackle in an official system, in an official planning system. We can discover, unlock hidden values, resources. We can discover new potentials. And for the statutory planning, for sure, they are legally binding. We need them anyway. We have to follow their standards and regulations. Mostly they have a very long perspective. But they are also time consuming, because if we go to all these steps, it's time consuming because we have to deliver in different time, different planning. And on the time, in this longer process, I see in Lisbon, for example, we have to, every 10 years, we have to decide for the new master plan of the city. But in 2-3 years, the city is developing so fast that the master plan is already out of use. And then they started the political discussion on that. And this is a very longer process. So that means the master plan we have now, it's not more responsive to the needs of the city, of the citizens. The ladder, Giuseppe already presented yesterday. For us, it's very interesting that we, in placemaking, we used to say that only the 3 that really involve people are sustainable partnerships. Because the others, we just inform people, we ask people to give their information when the plan is ready, but for the 3-1, when people is really able to participate and requested to participate, and the room is made for them to participate, this is more sustainable, so we can create sustainable partnerships, and this is also the process of co-creation. Co-creation is, as I mentioned, co-creation is the result of this process. So we involve people in citizen science, we use living lab as a method. Co-creation is the result because it's a shared outcome, it's a shared process, it's a product that's made by almost all partners. But this asks for us also to bring some attitudes. So we need to be curious about experimentation because we don't know the results. So we have to be open to experiment and be willing to experiment. We have to open the question for open the open the possibility to unforeseen, for not even known outcomes. So it's also an open-ended process when it will open. So it's a kind of, for us, also a challenging. So the questions we have always to ask is in co-creation, who to involve, how to engage, who you bring on board, who are the right people to involve. How can we put people to be part of the making the transition so that this place that's not known to something that is valued, and how we can discover the supportive groups that can be really actively part in the process. And this process, I want to just to show you 2 publications we have. They are open access, they are available. We try to understand how, if we have cases of, in the case here, salt mines in Portugal and Poland and Romania, if we analyze them, what is the common value they bring? What is the common knowledge we have? For example, the heritage tourism can be a good solution for us when we speak about creating destination. This is also the case here. So they are using tourism to protect historical use. Historical salt means historical process of production and historical elements. So bring people to know this is also important, that can keep the area, can keep these historical sites. It's important to brand this heritage. And this is what is very interesting done in Romania and in Poland. They use these salt mines to produce, to make clear the values of a whole region. And the second one, it's about cases in different states. We want to understand how the process of communication between the stakeholders in these different 5 cities were. So the mostly are not very well done, it's complicated, but bringing heritage, territory, society, and culture was an added value for these 5 cases. And bringing the scientific and local knowledge is also a good asset, it's an increase of knowledge. And how we decide who is taking the leader, it's also a very important issue here. It's the public authorities or the civic society. And these cases have very interesting decisions in this system. They are very different. In Lisbon, for example, is the municipality, through the public transport system, took the leadership of communicating the process. But it's very successful because it's a very important issue. In the whole process, I think, I want to this one here. I think there are 3 main players we have a ways to think about. First is the people, because for people we keep heritage. It's for people that we produce the city, we maintain the environment or for itself. So one is people. The second, decision makers we have, or let's say from this side here, we need good planners. We need people that develop ideas, that develop sustainable ideas, that develop rooted ideas. One side that can develop these challenging ideas, but we need also on the other side politicians, decision makers that take these good ideas and put in the agenda, give money for that, so that this can be turned into reality. So I think these 3 players are very important. People that develop good ideas, people that take these ideas into the agenda, and people, for sure, that we do this whole process. And I came then to the end. Thank you very much. For sure you have questions, I hope.
Thank you very much for keeping the time. Before the lecture, Professor Carlo and I was talking about that both have the same problem. We have to fight against the stereotype, and we have to keep the timing, and we are doing quite well, I have to say. So if there is any comment for the floor, please raise your hand. Okay.
Thanks, Carlos, for your presentation. As you know, I'm in your working group. So, and I have to comment about your letters of participation first, because this is a very conflicting letter, because, okay, he didn't present in very, very wide way, but the main problem of this letter that is related to the level of information. And in the decision-making, we have one main problem in participation, that is the power of information. I think there are some psychologists here. Yeah, right. So Lucas' model of decision-making. It's the problem of this letter of participation, where there are 3 levels. One is the decision-making power, the other one is non-decision-making power, and the third one is ideological power. And if we consider this approach that is not considering the manipulation, is because they don't consider the non-decision-making level of power and the ideological power. The non-decision-making level is the one that is the most risky in a public participation process. And I go back to Shirley. Shirley says the statement of significance. So we are experts on stating the significance of this value. If we prepare our information for the public participation in a way that we orient the final decision, we are not taking decision, but we have no decision-making power. So we are orienting a participation that is not correct. Even worse, if we create an ideological power, so communism, exclude many other solutions because they are not in line with your ideology, we create another distortion in this ladder of participation. And that's the main problem in these 6 levels and not the 8 ones. Because they are related, this is in fact Waldenman Fames in the 1983, is mainly related to the information level. And then we go back to us, co-creation. How do co-creation with citizens? So imagine that we are the scientists and we work with citizens in experiments. We are not at the same level of information. So how citizens can trust us if we don't have this kind of transparency? So the first element in this game, that is the most important element for a mediator and facilitator, is transparency. I do this job since 1989. So I passed all these frames and I started with the ICT. My team was about Cable City, and we were doing basically the technology at the lead. And in fact, Carlos said one important thing is only mean. It's not the target, it's not the final goal. And he's absolutely right. So we can use technology as mean, but technology can distort the process, can give us fake information, and can create the distortion in manipulating basically this process. So going back, how to be transparent, how to make citizens, let's say citizens, but also we could say stakeholders, feeling in a certain system of reciprocity and trust that is at the base of the community for deciding together. That is the main question when we apply what Carlos says. If we enter in this vision, then we must be aware of the risk of manipulation, of tokenism, and then we analyze our role inside what? Inside the single process, because we have different scales. I think that my question to Carlos is, how do you deal with different scale of experimentation? You have a local, very small scale, but also you can have a wide scales as regions, and have different kind of level of participation. I think your experience is about public spaces, but sometimes when you work and you deal with, underground built heritage, you can work on the landscape scale, where you have several municipalities. How could you deal with the same approach at changing the scale?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very, very tricky question. First, I want to go back to the word of manipulation. I think it's not a really good word. Because when we speak, I'm planner, so I'm used to work with people, try to develop the environment for people. For sure, the final decision has to be done by planner because we are the responsible for that. We can take people in the way and to try to negotiate and put their needs but the final decision has to be done by planning. This is, because I think the technical knowledge is also very important. So, especially in the way that the knowledge or the process goes into the statutory planning, we cannot go behind that. So, because it will lose of energies and efforts. But for this reason, I don't like this word manipulation because, manipulation is always something negative that we imbue in people, our meaning or our ideas. Could be, it's often the case, but I don't try to do that. Okay, yeah. And I think this is also the process of this ladder. This is also a kind of development. So when you start, as a planner, for example, I speak always from my experience. When I started to work with people, I thought, okay, I am here the planner, I know everything. So I will give people solutions. They tell me the needs, I give them a response. I will give them a solution. So in this kind, I start very, very, very low. So I heard to people, wrote down what their needs. I go back to the office and start to plan. So the next time I brought the solution. Okay, then it was informing people because I brought the solution and I informed people that, okay, these are your needs, these are my solutions. So, and for me it was done. So, this is a kind of experiencing to also developing skills to be open to that. I am not very sure that you can start from the very top now, working with people in the final decision, because the final decision maybe it's too late, because who developed the ideas on that? For me, again, I think this is really a ladder. You have to start somehow down and go up, and when you have solutions that can be negotiated, can be part of the official planning, so then you can move. I'm not sure that I answered your question, but
Any other comment from the floor, please? Any other comment on question? Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gracia again. I wonder, actually, because you talked that you worked with teenagers, what about the age differences? Like, how would you do the same project, for example, for elderly people when it talks for public space? Because they have different needs and different approach. And for example, if we want to develop a city in a smart way, how would the participatory planning introduce the elderly suggestions, because they are not aware of the digital age, for example, as much as a teenager could be. So how would their participation be positive to the process?
When we decided for this project, we decided to work with teenagers in a school, from, I think they are for 13 to 17. This is the school range in Lisbon. We decided because from the literature, we knew that teenagers are there are very few projects that involve them in the development of their own environment. They are always excluded. There are many projects to work with children and then with adults and elderly people, but very few with teenagers. So we decided to go for these vulnerable people. So then we tried to find a school that was open for our ideas. But we never was our thought to create a space that teenagers can be alone. This is also what I showed here in a slide. They don't want to be alone. They want to be with other people. They want to share the space with other people. So trying to come back to that, the idea was to try to understand how teenagers negotiate the use of space, negotiate the use with other users. So
okay.
The idea, what we have in our research, and Nagayama is here, we prepared, for example, a proposal to involve children, 3 years old children in the understanding of the city. So, taking different ages, so maybe in 10 years we have the role age group.
Okay, so I think we have another comment.
Thank you for the presentation. I was wondering, we have this case that we're studying in Portugal, and it's about the inclusion of monuments. So based on your experience on previous works that you've been working, like how it is different to include a monument in the urban planning from a hospital, because, for example, in the sense that a hospital, maybe a road or maybe a hotel can change the dynamics, but for example, there is some specific place in Portugal, for example, there is not as much public. So there's not many people who can get involved, so how you can include that. I was just wondering from your experiences, how monument is different from including these other kind of pieces?
Yeah, I think she's not here. Alice told yesterday, Portugal has a big problem. It's the concentration of the population in a very small part of the country. So the other parts are really rural or more or less abandoned. And also in Lisbon, if you see, we have the different cases. It's changing now, but in Lisbon, many people left the city to live in the outskirts. Lisbon was an empty city. In the city center, only the buildings are for commercial use are used. So the second, three floors are empty. So because people need more place in the city center. Our apartments are small. There is no insulation. They are old. So people needs more space. But yeah, this will be always a problem in Portugal. How we can connect deserted areas. We call that deserted. I don't know if it's English term.
There were 8 people, so it
Yeah.
was a bit more difficult to. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So it was a bit the idea of how do you actually bring back tourism there? How do you bring this? And I believe it starts from the urban planning. That's why I was a bit more like, okay, but how do you actually do that unless you have a big power from...
But Portugal is very small. We don't have this big power. We were waiting for long periods that the money will come to the country, will make it flourish again, but it's not the case. So now we start to try to develop the ideas from the ground. But also bring people to the countryside. It's important. It's a good issue. But how do you bring people there if the infrastructure is not there? If there are very few restaurants, very few hotels? The infrastructure for tourism is not then developed. If you go to the south of the country, you have the biggest hotels. You have everything around you. But it's just along the coast. If you go to the countryside, then it's nothing. So it's also an issue because then the tourists will depend on cars to come to these places. That means we need roads.
Do you want an
So it's a bit of more
We need
long
to
planning.
continue.
Yeah, of course. So it's more long planning and it needs to take
Yeah.
far longer time. It's a bit out of the context. Thank you.
Yeah.
Pleasure. I think there is another comment. Ernesto?
Okay. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Shirley. I think your presentation has been scored an important step forward in the school. And I start thinking the more and more, we already spoke, we know since many years, but I was thinking about that shift, the democratization of the decision process. And there are several things, several ideas that your communication has risen me, but anyway, have risen me. But anyway, we are in a moment in which the democratization of the process, of the decision process is scoring a momentum. Just to give an example to the school attendees, in Europe, at least Europe-wise, we are going through 2 important events: the European New Bauhaus, launched by von der Leyen, and the next coming 2 years debate on the future architecture of the European Union. And this is the really momentum for democratization. But going back to your presentation, I would like to have
One issue again, New Bauhaus.
New
and
Bauhaus and
Green Deal.
Yeah, yes.
This
the
is
Green
also-
Deal, but stay
So
only on
make-
democratization if you open the debate on the Green Deal, because the Green Deal is
Because
something
Green Deal
which
is
a
not
problem.
only, it's more sustainability. It's not only about ecology or it's really about production and about use and
Green Deal
consume.
has 2 key issues. Make Europe less dependent on carbon economy by 2050, leaving no one behind.
Yeah.
This is Green Deal. But Green Deal is a program of the European Commission. I'm speaking, I really want to stay, we can debate about that for 2 days. I really want to stay on the democratization of the process, significance and co-creation. And I would like, if possible, from you, a small comments to the attendees about the risks of conflicts and conflict resolution which comes with the democratization.
Yeah. If that someone has the answer for that, because, yeah, we, you know, in the beginning when we start to, it's like when we start with the technology, I think everyone was almost like drunk, you know, oh, we can do everything, it will solve our problems. Now we are getting more sober, trying to rethink what is good on that, what is not. And in the beginning, if you read the papers from the 90s about participatory planning and the use of technology, every author was saying, we will make the process of urban planning more democratic because we can involve more people. But it's always the same. The question who to involve, how to invest remains. Even with new technologies, with new social networks. So the problem is still the same. So how to involve, how deep to involve.
Exactly, even from my area, conservation, all right, we say we want to involve all society, but that would involve even, to go back to what I was saying, first society has to know what their heritage is. So you might involve someone who doesn't know anything about his history. So is that person as important as somebody who does know his history and can give the proper values? So it's very difficult. But I think democratization is important. I mean, you can't ignore someone because he hasn't maybe had the opportunity to learn his history, because you should use it as an opportunity perhaps to teach him about it. But even, I mean, I carried out some research with a student back in Malta where she had 3 historic houses, and she did the analysis academically, what is valuable, what should be preserved. And then she went back to the people that lived in the house, who didn't understand the history of the place. And it was interesting how they brought up new values, which academically you'd have never thought of. So do we ignore that? I don't think we should, but it is very difficult to make sure you identify the right people to participate. But I don't think we should act like we know it all and ignore maybe the lower people that don't know that, aren't academically prepared, because otherwise we need to change the definition of conservation. We don't do it for future generations, we do it for the educated few, which isn't the aim of conservation, I don't know. So I don't have an answer again, but it's very difficult.
Yeah, and I guess one issue is that the more we do that, the more experiences we gain, the more knowledge we gain. So the more we publish, the more we share this information, the more people are aware on that. It's always a kind of experimenting and reflecting on this experimentation.
No, in this discussion, we go back to what Carlos said in the beginning about citizen science, because I think it's very explicatory of how, let's say, we have an idea of democracy. So normally, citizen science doesn't start from citizens. No, they start from researchers. We do a project, and then we involve citizens, kids. They are involved. They are not doing the project by themselves. They are part, and they participate to the experiment. And the good thing that at the end of the experiment, maybe sometimes they became more expert than you. For example, I have experience with car sharing in co-housing, electric car sharing in co-housing. At the end, they experimented much more than me, the car sharing in their co-housing. They are more expert than me of using electric vehicles, because they spent 1 year in doing that. I'm only the researcher imagining that, but I'm not the one that experimented. But I always do the project, and then I write the conclusions. So I would like to let you understand that the difference, the roles, when we say co-responsibility is not real is partnering. I am responsible for writing the research and for writing the conclusions. You are responsible for doing your test. and to perform it. So I think roles are very important when we design any kind of these activities. And that's why we have difficulties to have answers, because projects are different. Reality are different. Sometimes we don't need research. It's only a negotiation between public and private for managing a growth, or we don't do any research, basically. And information is, incomplete. When we were saying the statement is very important because it's the starting point, and that is the main point of transparency. If we don't start with the statement on significance in a correct way, we are not starting the process of real participation. We are manipulating, and that's what I was trying to say before. Sometimes, if we do a small scale, I did, in Ghent, I did this experiment in giving streets to people. They were living in the street, and for 1 month they could use the street not for cars. They had the street closed for them, and they could design what they liked. And we were only changing all the system of transport of the city for making them this experiment. So it's just time experiment. But the fact was totally transparent, because it was a platform, everybody was seeing it, so it worked. But if I close a street, I imagine the rest of the municipality. For 1 month, they have trouble and traffic jams, things like that. So it doesn't work. So there is a big effort around in order to make things working, but small scale of experiment. And that's why we were doing transition approaches. Also, your projects are based on very, very small scale. That was my question before. When you change the scale and you go at a regional scale, how works the informal process? It doesn't anymore the same. It's a strategy. The stakeholders are completely different. The citizens are disappearing. Mm-hmm. So we need to understand, when we do case studies, the scale of our intervention. And according to the scale, we can really work in the participation. We can decide what is better. Sometimes, and Carlos, I think, is very, very, very clear in this, participation is not the right solution at all, because it's going to be an additional effort. You are not going to get anything from participation. It's better to have let's say, a proposition of significance from the regions, negotiating all this. So participation and formal planning works for specific type of projects. It doesn't work always, but we as, let's say, facilitators, mediators, we must know when is applicable one way of working, the other. When you already know the actors, so you don't know the actors. When the process of governance is linear, when it's circular. This is our task, to choose what is the process, the path that could be much more, let's say, profitable, let's say, reducing the effort for that kind of project. And that's, I think Carlos was very clear on that. Thank you.
I think there is a last question, but it will be a short one because we are out of time. So please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Zwinder Maniko. Actually, it's not a question. I just want to comment on the concept of citizen science. As I understand, citizen science is the main objective is to create science. So the citizens that participate, they will create science. It's not just to participate, they need to create science. So this creation of science itself is a democracy. It's like a system. If you vote, like the main goal is to create science. So depending on the scale, depend on if it's formal or informal, as long as you are creating science, itself is a democracy. So I guess it can be applied in all scales. So my point of view.
Thank you very much. I think it's been very interesting, this
Well, just one comment. I don't think we make science, but we create knowledge. This is also a shared knowledge. I think this is also a very important input of that.